Hey everyone, Alon Mizrahi here. This is the Mizrahi Perspective. Welcome. It turns out I'm your guide to the end of Zionism. This is how fortune had it. And I think I'm a good guide to the end of Zionism. And believe me, this is where we are. This is where we are. This is where we're going. This is what's happening. This is the atmosphere. This is the direction of things. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this today, especially about the Epstein affair and why I think it is a milestone, an actual milestone in the dismantling of Zionism. I'm going to remind you that if you want to support my channel, you can follow the links on the YouTube description, either to my Substack, which has some of the best political texts you'll find on the web, or the other app. And your support has been wonderful. It makes this a lot easier. Let's just say that. So the Epstein affair and why it is actually a milestone in the dismantling of Zionism. Before I delve into this, let's recap and remember where we are and how we got here in terms of the timeline of events. Because the timing of this thing is crucial. It's in a really important part of why of the power of this thing. And I'm going to explain this in a second, because remember, a few days ago, Netanyahu returned from the US. He was in a visit in Washington. The third time he meets Trump, yeah. The third time he meets Trump in 6 months or so. And this, I spoke about this in my previous video. This trip was disastrous for Netanyahu. He couldn't get Trump to say anything to make Netanyahu look triumphant in any way. He didn't speak about, there were no announcement of any normalization with any Arab country. They have been flaunting this and talking about a possible normalization right around the corner for years now. And it's not happening. It's not happening. So there was no normalization. There was no war with Iran. The US is not joining a war with Iran. There was no, Trump didn't talk about a possible recognition of the US of Israeli annexation of the West Bank or parts of the West Bank. So no, there was nothing that will show Netanyahu has achieved something in this visit. There was no advancement of his priorities or Israel's priorities or Zionism's priorities. None of this happened. And the cherry on top was, after spending his entire career trying to destroy any chance of humanity, the West, sorry for mistaking the West for humanity. This is a big no-no. But having worked his entire career to destroy any chance of the West recognizing Palestinian legitimacy, Palestinian humanity, in the White House he was forced by Trump to, at least superficially, acknowledge the possibility of a two-state solution, which is something he hates like we hate him. This is how much Netanyahu hates the idea of a two-state solution, not because he thinks it's going to happen, not because Israel is going to allow something like this to happen. Israel needs to be broken. Israel needs to be dismantled. Okay? But Netanyahu doesn't mean he's gonna, in his fantasies, allow for a Palestinian state to be established. But being forced to say that, giving meaning and presence to the legitimacy of Palestinians and Palestine by Trump in the White House, this was a big humiliation, but also a contradiction of everything Netanyahu has worked for his entire life. So this trip to the White House was a disaster. And before this trip, there was this short war with Iran, which Israel launched and failed to achieve anything in it. I mean, no destabilization of the Iranian system. We didn't see a popular protest wave against the Iranian government. On the contrary, Iranians came together and are coming together. Iran responded fast and powerfully and with a vengeance and hurt Israel badly. So Israel didn't achieve anything in this war that it started, and it didn't achieve a US participation. And I'm saying all of this because this is mental preparation for what's coming. Israel failed in its biggest objective, which was pulling the US in, because Israel is no match for Iran militarily. It's not even close. It has to pull the US in, and it failed. So it didn't shake the regime. It didn't destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities. It didn't even destroy the possibility of a negotiation between the US and Iran. And it didn't succeed in pulling the US in. So total failure. So we're a disastrous visit, preceded by another big failure with the Iran war, and we're genocide in the background, and Israel getting more and more hated daily by billions of people, literal billions of people. So Zionism's reputation, the ability of anyone identified with Israel to present their case, to get an audience, to be listened to be seen and spoken with as a normal, legitimate human being, this gets more and more impossible every day. People have had it. No one wants to listen. I mean, the only place where Zionism is presented as legitimate or seen as legitimate is Western media that Israel controls fully. And how Israel got such a huge amount of control over Western media and Western government and Western education systems and Western everything. This will need to be investigated and studied. How did something like this happen? How did something like this go under the radar of all Western intelligence services? I mean, does Israel control Western intelligence services too? What else does Israel control? How is any of this even possible? But we're not going to talk about this now. The only place where Israel is being presented and seen as legitimate is Western media. And these preposterous studios and moments in time where a BBC presenter, I don't know how to call them, they are not journalists, or a Sky News presenter or whatever, a CNN type, it talks about this incident and did the children die? Were the children there? Did the IDF know? Did they do this intentionally? What time it was? What day it was? What did the IDF say before? What did the IDF say after? Humanity doesn't have the attention or the willingness to listen to none of this bullshit anymore. No one cares. No one wants to listen to anything Israel says, to anything the IDF says. We don't want to hear another word from them. This is humanity. This is 90% of humanity. I'm guaranteeing this to you. No one wants to hear this. No one wants to hear what the IDF says about an incident where 50 innocent people died. The 1,000th incident of this type in 2 years. So wherever you look, thoroughly, reputationally, Israel is being crushed. It is unable. It is unable to defeat Hamas. It is unable to force its will on Lebanon and Syria, though it is trying very hard and it has so many collaborators. It can't do that. It can't take over Lebanon. It can't take over Syria. This is also not happening, and the US is pushing so hard to help Israel, but it's not going. It's not happening. Wherever you look, you see another big failure, another big failure, another big failure. And this accumulates, this creates critical mass. People don't forget this. This is like a snowball that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And after 2 years of seeing what we're seeing from Gaza, with basically anyone with a functioning mind and heart and social media having a very clear perception of what's happening and what Israel is doing. And after Netanyahu is trying to drag the US into war with Iran, which is going to be devastating for the US. At this particular moment in time, the Epstein scandal blows up again. And this is fucking poetry. This is fucking poetry. This is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. They failed at normalizing the genocide except with Western media. Western media will do and say whatever Israel tells them to do and say. But their influence is close to zero in society. They can set the agenda, what people will talk about maybe, but they can't shape how people will talk about it anymore. They don't have this power anymore. This is not the 80s or the 90s. So everyone has been watching the genocide and what's coming out of Gaza. And we all died a million times with every child, with every mother, with every father and brother and grandpa. A million times. Israel is dead. It can't recover from this. But after 2 years of this, Israel tries to pull the US into a war with Iran, which is so unpopular in the US. This is where Israel crossed the line from only being hated or mostly being hated by people who have some capacity for mercy and compassion and solidarity. This was now Israel pulling into the circle of hostility towards Israel. People are saying, I just don't want another war in the Middle East. And this is many millions of Americans who are not the natural pro-Palestine camp. They are just ordinary Americans who hate being used by a military-industrial complex and seeing their country ruined, basically, get ruined because those people run it. They don't want another war in the Middle East. So you have the genocide. On top of this, you have an attempted war in the Middle East, a big, cataclysmic, destructive war, being hardly avoided by Trump and his administration at the last minute. And right after that, and this is the timing I'm talking about, this Epstein affair explodes again. And this thing won't die. It won't die. It keeps getting resurrected. This really bothers people. The idea that a foreign government, namely Israel, this is code name, foreign code name Israel, was able to blackmail so many people and basically manipulate the entire American system through sexual blackmail, through all kinds of these kind of games. Stupid games of extortion, of exposure, of intimidation. All this. This is not how a country is supposed to be run. How a country is supposed to run. And the idea of an island where underage minors or potentially children are being trafficked for American elites or international elites. This is so disgusting with the involvement of intelligence services. This is why you have intelligence services. This is what you're doing. This is how you defend your country. Trafficking minors, potentially children, and blackmailing people. I mean, the idea of this is so disgusting to people, but this is so powerful because this comes on top of an almost war with Iran, which comes on top of a freaking genocide, and people feel like they're about to get sick, to throw up. They can't hear Israel anymore. They can't hear it. People are becoming allergic to the word Israel, and this is so. Just to give you an idea of how much panic Israel feels over this, Naftali Bennett is the former prime minister of Israel. He was just 1 year prime minister, but he was a senior politician in Israel for many years, for a decade. He was very close with Netanyahu. He was forced to go on his Twitter account and deny that Epstein was an agent for Mossad. I mean, just think about how panicked they are over this. They are losing the American public at an amazing speed. This was a process that was happening already with young Americans, even before the genocide. Young Americans were becoming increasingly disillusioned with Zionism. Much before the genocide, there were previous wars, brutal, with thousands of people killed, with hundreds of children butchered. In 2014, in 2009, 2021, they do this every couple of years. But now this is accelerated to warp speed, and there's an accumulation of stuff. This is why it's such a milestone. And this is something, this is like stuck in the throat of the American system, and they can't get rid of it. They don't know what to do with it. Trump is trying to like whitewash, like move it aside, try to make it like uninteresting, but it's not working. And diehard MAGA people are on this. They want to know. They want answers. And this is directly linked to Zionism in Israel. This is directly linked to Zionism in Israel. And these are big strategic, huge issues. Genocide, war, another war in the Middle East. People are still angry about Iraq and Afghanistan. And now you come with an idea of going to war with Iran. People are beginning to see this as treasonous. This is treachery. And this is American patriots. This is not some pro-Palestine students. This has a wide base in the US, on the left and on the right. So the fact that this Epstein affair won't die, and the fact that it resurfaces now after this series of failures, this is another big nail in the coffin of Zionism, because people have had enough. They can't take it anymore. They don't want to hear about it anymore. You cannot. We are going through this very rapid shift from a situation where in every American meeting almost. You had to declare your loyalty to Israel. We're going to a place where it's going to be impossible to say that you stand with Israel. It's going to be impossible not in a very long time. This is evolving exceptionally fast, and the genocide paved the way with it, because even people who didn't speak about this, they hated it. And this Epstein affair now gives them the impetus to let go of this burden, of this annoying, unlovable burden of Zionism. And just to wrap this up about the poetic beauty of this, because think about, in my mind, I'm seeing like many different parts going into place and the whole picture being turned on its head to be correct, to be right, to be the right picture. After so many years of Zionist deception, of presenting an upside-down worldview, where the aggressor and colonizer and the violent party was presented as the victim, now this is a major cultural shift. This is not even only political, this is cultural, this is psychological on a huge scale. And the almost monstrous beauty of this is the fact that everything that Zionists, especially, also white supremacists, but especially Zionists, and why Jews agreed to be the last remnant of white Western Christian colonialism, it's something that I would never be able to understand. This was such a, why would you join a losing ideology, something that no one likes anymore? Is this the right moment to join it when the British Empire is collapsing and people are beginning to speak and form all these counter colonialist ideologies and beliefs and systems and resistance groups? This is the time to join this effort. I mean, this is, but never mind this. Everything they told us about what Arabs and Muslims are, everything they told us, remember the propaganda. They told us that Muslims and Arabs were tribal. They didn't have an individual mind. They were all working as one, as a tribe. They can't break with the tribe. This is the propaganda. And they are violent. And they have no mercy. And they have no laws. They respect no laws. And they are bloodthirsty. And they have mercy for no one. Maybe I said this already. They don't have mercy for children. They hurt innocent people and children. And they are religious fanatics. And they are sexually depraved. All of this huge body of propaganda turned out to be true about Zionism and Zionists. This is why the Epstein affair is so crucial psychologically, because in our mind it connects Gaza with Epstein's island. And it counters a century of propaganda about Muslims and Arabs and brown people and all the people who are not white European Christian. Everything they said about them, about Arabs and Muslims, the insane cruelty. We are seeing the genocide. There's no more insane cruelty than this. It's unimaginable. There's no more than this. When you burn children who come to drink water because they're thirsty, because you cut off the water, there's no higher degree of cruelty. This is Zionism. When you have a spy trafficking minors to blackmail Your elites, not Muslim elites, not Arab elites, not Iranian elites, but American and Jewish elites, Western elites. This refutes almost with mathematical precision everything that they have said about the savages. And remember, the mass rape thing was such a major part, because this is an essential part of the propaganda. And now they have Epstein. Do you see the beauty of this? I wrote on my Twitter yesterday, it's as if there is a God. This is almost like a divine hand guiding events, letting one side spew is demonic hatefulness of the other for almost a century, without interruption, without counter. And in the span of a few years, everything gets slammed in their faces. Everything that they have said about other people and they accused other people of doing, the whole world has seen them doing, and this is irrefutable. All of us have seen it. We have all seen it. They cannot come back with this. And what we're witnessing now, and I've been talking about this in my last videos, because I see it and I feel it and I recognize it. This is where we're going. This is where we're going. The end of Zionism. I'll see you in my next video.